We have learned to create functions that accept parameters that control how they work. So we'll take a look at another example of this. So what I want to do is I want to create a program that accepts two numbers. The user selects an operation and dot dot dot. The result is displayed. Okay, so this is what we want to accomplish. Now, what I want to do is I want to design a function called calculate that is going to basically accomplish this task. So if I wanted to make a calculation, what information do I need? So we're going to design this one by looking at the function first and then doing the main program afterwards, which I feel like this is a more common way of tackling this. So what we're going to do is we will have a void calculate, and we'll fill in the parameters in just a second. Okay, so let's think about this. What information do we need in order to do this? So inputs. So the first thing that we need are the two numbers. So we're going to need the two numbers in order to do the calculation, and then the second thing that we'll need is we'll need the operation. So the operation here is also going to be important. So once we have the two numbers and the operation, we will be able to figure out what our result is. So these things are going to be the parameters for this program. So we will need to receive a number 1 and a number 2. Now, one thing that is important when you're writing this, and sometimes people make this mistake, is they'll try to do the shortcut of declaration. You know, I want two integers, I want n1 and n2. This does not work. Each parameter needs to have its type associated with it. And then for the operation, we'll also pick an integer for that, and we'll make it like a choice from the main program. So I'm going to call it choice. Okay. So we're trying to create this program where we are designing the designing the function first, and then we'll work on the main program afterwards. So for this, we'll get an answer variable. I mean, we could just go straight to displaying it, but I'm going to kind of keep it like this. So let's do, say, if the choice is 1, then this will represent an addition. So answer is going to be n1 plus n2. Now, all of these choices, you can't have the choice simultaneously be 1 and 2, so we'll put an else if choice equals 2, then the answer is going to be equal to, let's do this as a subtraction, n1 minus n2. And then now that I got my else, I feel like I can very easily just sort of copy paste my way through the remainder of this. Let's say that this is going to be a multiplication. This is going to be a division. And let's throw a modular operation in here as well because it's fun. And then I just want to make sure that I am counting up the choices. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then once I've figured out what the answer is, this is where I will display it. So cout, we'll put the word answer here, and we'll display the answer. Okay. So let's use this in the main program. But the other thing that I decided that I want to do is I also want to make another function that is going to handle the menu for this. So I'm going to want to display the menu with all of these choices in mind. So I will put this one at the top. Void menu. So this is going to be all of the options that the user could choose from. So the menu will be displaying a thing. So for this, inputs. There are no inputs. So if we think about this one, what it's doing is it's just displaying a thing. It doesn't need to know, it doesn't need me to tell it like, oh, I want you to have 4 things in the menu, or I want you to have 5 things in the menu. It's just going to display the entire menu. So it's going to look like this. We're going to see out calculations. I'm going to put an exclamation mark on it to make it more exciting. See out. Let's do our operations from here. So we're going to do addition. Our second one is going to be subtraction. Our third one is going to be multiplication. Number 4 is going to be division. And CO 5 is going to be modulus. Okay, so this is the big difference, and with practice you'll be able to distinguish between these two types of functions. This one requires no input. It just does a thing. And this one will do different things based on what the user input. So it will require specific parameters. Okay, so let's go down to making the main program. So in this case, we will need an N1 and an N2. And sometimes I get this question, wait a second, we've got 2 variables in our program that are named the same thing, N1 and N1 here. The thing is, this N1 does not exist in the scope of the calculate function. So that's the term we use for this scope. This N1 is part of the main program. This N1 is part of the calculate function. So we can name them the exact same thing. I'm going to carry that on and also call the next one choice. There we go. So we've got N1, N2, and we've got choice. So we'll put enter a number, cin N1, cout, enter another, cin N2. And then what we want to do is we will display our menu. So I'm just going to put in menu and then a semicolon here. And then what I'm going to do is I'll prompt the user for a choice. So cout, enter choice. So we'll see in the choice variable here. And then what we're ready to do is we're ready to do the calculation. So I will go calculate, and then we will need to pass it N1, N2, and choice. And then it is ready to do its operation. So we'll run the program. Okay, so here we go. We enter a number. I'm going to put 4, and then I'm going to put 6 And there's a lot of good choices here. I think I'm going to pick addition. So I get 10 as the answer, and there we have it. This program sorted out. The one thing that is important here, so I'm going to show you this. We're going to enter a number which is going to be, say, 10. And then the next one will be 2. And then what I want to do here is I want to do a division. So it's going to be 10 divided by 2. I get the answer 5, which is great. So here's one thing that you have to be careful of. I will be undoing this so you don't have to program this step. I'm going to reverse. Now, it's hard to do this by accident because they're numbered, but there are other scenarios where you could make this mistake. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reverse N2 and N1. And then when I run the program, let's see what happens. I'm going to do 10 and 2 again. So enter a number, 10. Enter another number, 2. And now I want to do a division. I am going to get 0 because what it's doing is it is taking 2 divided by 10, and because it can't hold a decimal, it gives me a result of 0. So here, N2 is the number 2, and N1 is the number 10. So they get passed in this order. So only the value of N2 gets passed. So a 2 gets passed to the function and gets dropped here into the N1 value. So N1 in the function is the number 2. 10 is the second value, so it passes the value 10, and it drops it into the N2. So what it does is 2 divided by 10, and that's why I get 0. So you have to be very careful that you are putting these in the correct order. So I'm going to do N1, N2, as is proper, and then save the program because this is the best version of it.